for you.
Why is it so hard to get an Uber? Have you been stood on the curb after a night out, waiting for what feels like forever to find a driver? Well, let's break down why. When Uber launched in 2009, it was flush with investor cash. The company used that money to attract drivers onto its platform with lots of incentives. But once the rideshare company had built up a network of drivers, it started to eliminate those old incentives and reduce driver pay. That's not just according to drivers, who were at the sharp end of poor pay and long hours. In 2019, Uber wrote in a filing, as we aim to reduce driver incentives to improve our financial performance, we expect driver dissatisfaction will generally increase. And that's exactly what's happened. The company has increased profits by raising fares and paying drivers less, pissing them off in the process. In 2021, the Supreme Court ruled that Uber drivers were workers and not self-employed, and therefore entitled to basic workers' rights, like holiday pay. But since 2021, drivers say that things have gotten worse, not better. That's why, between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Valentine's Day, drivers across the country working for Uber, Addison Lee and Bolt are withdrawing their labour by logging off from the apps to demand better pay and working conditions. But before they log off, we're here to meet Nader. He's been an Uber driver for 6 years and chairs the IWGB's private hire drivers branch. He's kindly offered to drive us around and show us what a day in his working life looks like.
Right. Shall I log in then?
Yeah.
Are you filming?
Okay.
So, I've got a job now.
Oh wow.
£10, 25 pence. It's about 15 minutes away from me. Right? And it takes me 14 minutes to drop them, or 20 minutes. Uber tells you 14 minutes. You put it on Waze, becomes more. Because Uber navigation is not live, does not detect traffic. For £10. Now, of course, given the size of my car, right? Is it worth it to do this job? Of course it's not. So you decline it. As simple as that.
How many trips do you find yourself declining in a day?
Let me tell you what's my acceptance rate. 19%. So what's this tell you? How much I'm rejecting of my jobs? 81%. This gives you an idea. As drivers, we know we don't get paid for the pickup. The customer journey starts from when we pick them up. So the time I spend to drive to them and pick them up is paid by the driver. Is it worth it for me to drive 20 minutes for free? Spend diesel and tires and oil and whatever it is we spend in our cars? It's not. So what do you end up doing? Not taking the job. As simple as that. It's not easy from a driver perspective, because you know if you take a job and you are ending up getting stuck in traffic or serious traffic, what you get for it is not worth it. You end up making decisions, sometimes right, sometimes wrong, because you have to make a decision in seconds. You don't have time to think and consider and explore and make a decision. It happens with everyone.
And do you often get angry customers?
No, I wouldn't say angry. Sometimes customers say, I waited for a long time to get a job, and you have to explain to them the challenges, why.
Are they generally understanding?
By and large, customers, yes. When you explain to them the challenges, they feel sympathetic to us. I do feel so. They say, I didn't know. I say, that's how reality is. I always explain this. That's how reality is. Me personally, I always, for moral reasons, I don't refuse a job from a hospital. It doesn't matter where it's going or whatever it is, because I feel an hospital is either a patient or an NHS staff, or who needs this. And happened with me once I accepted the job, and I've been waiting for about 30 minutes and no one was accepting my job. I said, I know, because your job is not very valuable. But me personally, I don't refuse a job from a hospital for these reasons. That's it.
So how many hours would you say you have to work a week to earn enough to live?
You need to do at least 12 hours a day, let's put it this way. And I know some drivers do more.
How many more?
15, 18 hours, depends. If you are young and you are healthy and you are in your 20s, you can do more. But if you are my age, you can't. As simple as that. I know drivers sleep in their cars to earn a living. No, it's £12 job. Is away from me 8 minutes, 1.1 mile. It will take me 13 minutes. So 8 minutes will be 10 minutes, 13 minutes will be 15, 16 minutes. So give or take, we're talking about half an hour. Half an hour for a £12 journey. And we know by experience, drivers, that they send it to so many drivers at the same time with different prices. And we believe the driver who accepts the cheapest fare will get it. So what Uber is doing is putting drivers against each other, betting against each other, in the interest of keeping their fares low.
Does that make it difficult to build solidarity between drivers?
Of course it does. Now, solidarity between drivers is a very complex issue. The drivers mainly are ethnic minorities, so we are talking about lots of communities. All of them are ethnic minorities, lots of communities are involved, and everyone has different experience in their life or their background, etc., etc. So it's a very complex issue to work on it. And two, because they are from poor background, of course. Most of the drivers come from a poor background, and they are trying to earn a living, and they are focused on earning a living. They feel if you go on a strike or you go on a protest, you can end up losing money, or you will be targeted by the operators, or various reasons. Some of them wouldn't like to take part. But despite all these challenges we've been facing, when this log-off started and the call for the protest, the movement grown on a national level, and many nationally joined this movement, because we feel the drivers had enough. It's about time, as we say, the drivers take back the wheel. Let's put it this way.
A lot of these struggles, they don't just appear out of nowhere. We've seen a lot of gig economy workers kind of having these explosions of anger at the deteriorating pay and conditions. Addison Lee drivers who are members of the union decided that they wanted to have a log off. They've been started getting organised at the company. And this then inspired the wider branch of members who work for Uber and Bolt and thought, yeah, let's go for it as well. Let's, jump on the kind of artificial hook of Valentine's Day. This is a day when there's going to be a lot of people looking for lifts home after dates and stuff like this. There's an opportunity there to impact the apps with a big strike, and they decided to go for it. And since then, it is spread like wildfire, and we're expecting thousands to be participating today.
Can you talk a bit about what the demands drivers are making?
The key topics to be uniting drivers that everyone can feel is pay, rights, and safety. And the issue of safety is more important than ever right now as we come up to the 4-year anniversary of one of our members, Gabriel Bringay, who was murdered while working in Tottenham. He just picked up a ride, he couldn't see who the customer was, a group of boys jumped in the car, they took him down a really quiet street and they stabbed him to death. And he was left at the wheel for over 300 minutes, sat there bleeding to death. The app didn't pick up that there was a driver who wasn't moving despite a fare was running, and he passed away. And all his family got from Bolt, the company that he was working for at the time, was a bunch of flowers. We did a survey a couple of years ago, and 8 out of 10 drivers said that they've either suffered physical or verbal abuse while working. So a huge part of this is about safety.
Could you talk a bit about pay and just the way in which drivers' pay has been eroded steadily by Uber and Bolt and the likes over the years?
They're constantly bringing in new ways to erode the pay and conditions of workers. So the latest one is that they will offer a job, they'll offer it at different prices to a number of workers. So essentially they're bidding for the same job, and it will be the lowest bid wins. And the reality of that is, the mental health conditions of drivers, talking to them all the time, they're on antidepressants, anti-anxiety, physical health. A lot of these drivers, they're spending 10, 12, 14 hours in their car. The physical impact this is happening is just absolutely awful. And then also the financial, people aren't even making their rent. they're struggling to feed themselves and their families. They're late on rent, they're late on mortgage payments, they're in tons of debt, and this is the reality. And you know, finally, I mean, it's the way that the workers have to kind of engage with the employers and the licensing authorities. They're heavily regulated. However, you know, the apps they work for are completely unregulated in the way they pay, the way they operate. It's just a complete, you know, paradox in which they exist. And yeah, the burden is getting too much for the workers, and that's why this thing was like a powder keg moment, and that's why people are going to be heading out of their numbers.
Can you explain the 2021 Supreme Court ruling in terms of what was at stake and what's happened since?
It was ruled that Uber drivers were in fact workers and therefore should be getting holiday pay and pension and minimum wage after costs for the whole time that they're logged on. So this ruling happened. Uber, quite surprisingly, instead of saying, oh, it was only this small group of workers that it affected, they actually rolled this out to all of their drivers. However, you know, the way they rolled it out, they completely mutated that ruling to a way that, you know, the workers are actually worse off now. So they've just taken the ruling, they've molded it into a way where they've actually come out with more profits than before and hurt the workers even more for daring to push this. So, I mean, just grapple with that the Supreme Court can make a ruling, it's then left to an employer to then implement it, and they're able to do it in a way that workers end up worse off. The Uber ruling was quite demoralizing. It has caused a lot of division, and we're having to almost go back to people and say, look, you can have holiday pay and better pay, but you have to win that through collective action, because if you sit back and hope that there'll be some sort of law change, the chances are it would be manipulated into you being worse off. If you think there's going to be a big press story that's just going to change your life, that's not going to happen as well. And a lot of workers sort of think either the law or if the public just knew, this is going to change their lives. And it is like a real learning for workers to understand that the only way that they're going to change their lives is if they come together and they force through the changes themselves.
We are driving for change. We are driving for change. Enough is enough. We are the backbone of London. And look how they treat us. Enough is enough.
What kind of impact does it have on you spending so long driving?
Loneliness is a massive problem. Loneliness is not only for me, for many drivers, you know. You feel isolated. And I think this is what really help these big techs to exploit the private hire industry. You know, we live in our own bubble, you know, and dream that the big trip you come and never comes. You know, and then when you see you're suffering, you're struggling mentally, financially, sometimes even family as well, you know, within your car. You know, I've been sitting inside your car for 4 or 5 hours, sometimes even more. You know, that is not nice. There is a lot of mental issue going on amongst private hire drivers.
What's it like working for an algorithm that you don't understand?
When I turn the app on, I have to look at it. You know, when it blips and I miss it, I miss the trip. Drivers are bidding for the same job with different prices. And this is what we need TfL to intervene. We really need transparency, even for our own well-being. You know, it's like one is shoe, but not with the app. You know, it's like crazy, drives you mad actually.
I know there's maybe not.
This is Trip Radar, you see? There is 2 tips here. Look, that is one of 7.4, but look, the time is running. 198 and then 20 pounds. Look, the driver here is 70 minutes away, 51 minutes, 50 minutes away for 20 minutes, for 9 pounds. Look, this is a joke, just finished now.
Yesterday I did one trip, which was Birmingham from Heathrow Airport. And it was £106 for 98.9 miles, and it was all the way. It took me about 2.5 hours to get there, traffic and all that, and then you come back all the way. It's a dead miles. So basically, I got only paid £104 for 98.9 miles from Heathrow all the way. 3 hours going, 3 hours coming, 6 hours are gone. And then obviously you've got to put petrol in, and I only got paid like 106, which is £25, 60 pence of petrol gone, right? And then obviously 6.5 hours, you know, the time. So I lost a lot of money in that, you know. So basically I made in about 7 hours only like, £70. Or if you take like the car finance out, the insurance out, and so you're left with what, £40 for that journey, for the day. So your day is almost 7 hours are gone, for one journey. So which is all in 7-8 hours, all you earn is about £40. So that's how it is, that's how it works. So that's why we are all here today, to let Uber know they are absolutely, trying to squeeze the blood out of our bones.
I'm a father. I have a 14 years old. How much time can we afford to spend with our children? My brothers, we must come together, brothers. And the time is now. The time is now. Yes. Yes. Brothers. Yes. We need to live here. Like a thunder, brother. Full of power. There is no dignity in it. There is no dignity, brothers. We need each one of us. We need to recognize our value. So brothers and sisters, we are the change that we want to make, okay? We are the change that we want to make. So to every driver here, to every private hire driver here, I want to thank you. I want to thank you to making time to come here today. Together we are strong, brother. We are strong. It doesn't matter what happened. We will come back and we will fight every day as long as we stay together. And that's what we need. Yeah. Okay? God bless you, bro. Thank you.
Everybody, put your hands up high.
One day isn't enough.
It's a beautiful surge in red.
Yeah.